here we go. Hello everyone, my name is Shivani Parikh. I use she, her, and hers pronouns, and I'm our outreach coordinator to our Asian communities at the center. And so I'll say that in Gujarati as well. So કેમ છો? મારું નામ શિવાની છે. મને ગુજરાતીમાં બી ફાવે છે વાત કરવાની, અને આપણી સેન્ટરમાં એક બીજી બહેન બી છે જેને હિન્દી, ઉર્દુ, સિંધી અને મરાઠી બી આવડે છે. So I also added that we have someone else at the center who also speaks Hindi, Urdu, Sindhi, and Marathi. So thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexis Williams. My pronouns are she or they, and I'm the coordinator of outreach to the Black communities and the LGBTQ plus communities at the center. I don't speak another language, so that's all from me.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Amanda Hugh, and I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm the coordinator of campus services, so I work with all of the colleges in Rockland County.
Can you hear me? My name is Preach. My pronouns are he, his, and his. I am the outreach coordinator to engage boys and men at the wonderful Center for Safety and Change. Let me tell you a little bit about our organization. About 43 years ago, the Center for Safety and Change was organized to help survivors, victims, and families who have been affected by violence. And we service individuals, women, men, boys, girls of all races, creeds, and colors. Keep this in mind. We also service the LGBTQ plus community, which says that however God created you, we make sure that we give you the attention that you rightfully deserve. It is our job to make sure that our community respects everyone. Amen goes right there. We also are a community that is in business 24/7. And if you are in a place where you cannot talk, you can text us 24/7. And all of our conversations are, keep this in mind, private. We will not share what's private to you as you share with us. So, if you need our help, if you need our attention, we are there for you. So keep in mind, the Center for Safety and Change is for everyone, including you. Thank you very much.
Hi again, everyone. Thank you, Preach. I'm just going to elaborate a little bit on some of our services at the center. So like Preach mentioned, we were founded about 43 years ago in 1979, and we're originally known as Rockland Family Shelter. So like Preach also said, we have a hotline, a text line, and also a web chat, which you can connect 24/7 with a trained advocate. When the center was first founded, we were our hotline and our emergency shelter, which is in an undisclosed location in Rockland County to support folks who are facing immediate danger and threats. And while they're in the community, they receive a lot of support and are linked up with our different services throughout the center. Here are a few of the other ones. We have counseling and therapy for individuals and groups. We also have a lot of crisis intervention work and safety planning that our advocates do with folks. We offer support and information for everything you could imagine and make referrals outside as needed. We also have multilingual speaking advocates. As you saw some of our representation before, it's always really important to connect and speak with people in the language that they're most comfortable in, so they're getting the services that they all need. We do community education for folks of all ages. And we also offer court assistance and accompaniment to folks when they're going through the different criminal and civil and family court processes. We have a whole department dedicated to anti-human trafficking with a really wonderful mentor program for youth who may be identified as at risk. We have a wonderful department for children's services, and we have a sexual assault forensic examiners program. And lastly, our legal services, which also ties in with the accompaniment that I said before with wonderful legal advocates and attorneys. So that's the center. If you have any more questions on any of the services, flag down any of us, and we'll be happy to tell you more. Thank you.
So good evening again. I'm not sure, folks are way more than 6 feet apart, so if you do want to come closer, feel free to. Before we begin our formal program, we want to give some deep gratitude for some invisible labor for all the things that you see up here as we have Crime Victims Week, and also recognizing that many times we do not acknowledge invisible labor and all that goes in there. So this beautiful display was led and curated by Chris Burns, a local Nyack artist, as well as Yodit Lulu, and both of them together are really strong community activists. And there was a lot of thought into what created what you see in front of you, which she's also gifting to community. So before you leave, please take a flower to take back to your loved ones in memories of those that we want to keep safe and those that we remember who aren't with us today. So each of the flowers here, I'll go one by one. This purple one with the tiny flowers is called Red Bud, and it stands for betrayal. Right? So a lot of what we're talking about is in relationship to justice and betrayal of trust and humanity between one another. The second is our magnolia, which is popping all over during the springtime, and it stands for dignity. And part of us bringing voice to a lot of the victims and survivors is to be reminded of the dignity that we stand for, and we want to remind people to continue to protect that. And the vines, these specifically are kiwi vines, but vines in general, when you see them, signify endurance. So you showing up tonight, I know it's cold, it's supposed to be springtime, you can endure this, right? We've endured much harder things, and together we can really push through anything. And then there's these all along the front, which are the bleeding heart. And they represent compassion and openness to expressing ourselves. So before we open up, we really want to take notice of those flowers in nature, especially on this Earth Day, in terms of what they give us in order to open ourselves. And when we open ourselves, we help others to open themselves as well in this process of healing that we're doing in community. Then we have the daffodils, which represent rebirth, and the white summer snowflake, which signifies hope. So with that, please keep in mind all of the things that nature feeds to us so that we can feed one another. And thanks again for showing up.
Thank you again for attending. Happy Earth Day, everyone. Right? As we begin our experiences and our healing process, I would like to introduce you all to Rosemarie De La Sandro.
Hi, everybody. Hey. Ooh, ooh. That's good. That's good. Great. You know, what I wanted to say is that, first of all, hi to all of you. It's so great to see, this kind of spirit out there, out here, because, and it's all positive, and it's for all people, and that's what's so important. Because a lot of people, I don't think, understand that. So they have to be educated. So you are educating them. And we all do our part and make it a big, big picture. And that big picture is very full of hope. Even though sometimes you think the big picture is not full of hope. And you know what, everyone? I'm going to tell you a story tonight. But before I do it, I want to say thank you to the Center for Safety and Hope, for the work that I'm sorry, I said hope because that's sort of Bergen County, but I'm from Hillsdale, New Jersey, and for the Center for Safety and Change.
There you go.
Yay! Yay!
You got
So anyway, I want to tell you that all of you, showing what you do, it's almost, I'm glad that we're taping it, so I will know, what each of you do. I'm talking about the flowers like that, and then talking about helping all types of violence, human trafficking, people that, are born the way they're born and giving respect to, and I just love what you do, and I'm so thankful, and it makes me happy, and it gives me hope, and even with my work, okay? So here we are. What I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to tell you a story, and the story starts very, very bad, and very, very much suffering. But the end of the story, which still continues now, has to do with hope, and it has to do with bringing people together in unity for change, because this is what happened in this story. And then the change is because people are standing up and not staying to the side and just saying, oh, I don't want to get involved, oh, I'm intruding. And a lot of times we know those are excuses. But standing up and really doing something, you got to do something. You just don't want to talk and say, oh, they should do it this way, it should be done that way. I mean, I hear this a lot. So what I try to do is to make people understand that each can make a difference. And some you get through to, and some you don't, and that's okay, because that doesn't take your confidence away. Never, never, never let anything take your confidence away. And if you need help with that, because see, I learned. I remember at the beginning, I mean, a lot of times I didn't have confidence. A lot of times, I just was just floating, but still, persisting. And I want the younger people and the people that have so much life ahead to get confidence at the beginning. So then what you could do is much more good in the world in an easier way, not with as much struggle, okay? So you could always come to jonesjoy.org. It's JOANS, joy.org. That's our website. And then you could get in touch with me. And then there's lots of people that help, but I will always make time for you. It could be on the phone, it could be with a visit, it could be on Zoom. Zoom is good, we could do Zoom. So just know there's another person that you could come to. And you will see who I am as I continue another story. Now, the story is about Joan. It starts with Joan. She's my little girl. And she has inspired me to do my work. She was delivering cookies to my neighbor, and he was like 3 houses down across the street, and this is in Hillsdale, New Jersey. And what happened was, she said, "Goodbye, Mommy," to deliver 2 boxes of cookies to the neighbor. "Goodbye, Mommy, I'll be right back." And those were the last words. She never came back. She went to heaven there. In my faith, I believe in heaven, but she went. She did not live in this world anymore. What he did, he sexually assaulted her. He was a teacher. He said, I knew how to lure her into the house. She was trained not to go into anybody's house. He said, I know how to do it. So he did it. She went downstairs to the first floor of the bi-level house, and then he strangled her. He took her head, and hit it against the floor. Remember, she's 7 years old. And she fought. They could tell she fought. And that was Joan. You know, Joan was going to fight. And then he strangled her again. So he had so much anger, so much in him that he wanted to control a little child by completely destroying her body. But you know what? He didn't win, because her energy would not be squashed, and you will see as we go along. Then what happened was, this was on Holy Thursday, so now we're in that period in this like National Crime Victims' Rights Week. It was on the 19th, and Holy Thursday, in the faith I have, that's a big day, because you have Holy Thursday, then you have Good Friday, and then you have Holy Saturday, and then you have Easter. So then what happened was, community came about, people were coming, trying to find out where she was. And I remember going that night to his house and asking him. I went down the street, went to his house, and asked him if he saw Joan. Of course he said no, but there was something about him that was so cold, it was even colder than a stone, like 100 times over. And I knew, at that point, I knew he had done it. So I left the house, and then I had, Joan was 7.5, I had an 8.5-year-old, and 9.5-year-old. I had the boy with me, and he was with me, 9.5-year-old, and we went down the street. Of course, I didn't say anything to him, because there was so much drama for him. So then, what happened was, I didn't know it, but people were searching all over. It was all around the United States, in all the newspapers, because this was in 1973, everybody. And in 1973, everything was free. Kids were playing all around the neighborhood. And they didn't even, like, if they saw a friend, they just went and they played. And they didn't say anything about, oh, Mom, I'm going with my friend, because that's just the way it was. It was very free, and the kids played in the street. But after Joan died, what happened was, it was almost like overnight, things started to change. People they realized things were not going to be the same. It wasn't as free as it was. But you know what? Guess what? We were just more innocent, and maybe innocent has its bliss, and it gives you freedom, and it gives you just this beautiful grace of life. But, you know, people are people. There are good people, there are people that do good, there are people that do bad. Even before 1973. Even in any century, okay? But this just woke up people a different way. So Joan's case became high profile, very known. It changed things in society. So then what happened was, on Easter Sunday, at the site in West Haverstraw, Joan was found, right in your community. And the perpetrator, the killer, he thought he was going to be able to fool the lie detector test, and he didn't. And then what happened is, he became like hysterical, and he said where Joan was. Because her body was in Harriman State Park, and it could have taken years to find her. So thank God we found her. That was on Easter, a day of hope, a day of hope. And here it was at this site. The site is on Old Gate Hill Road, and you take Palisades Parkway and you get off at exits 14 and you make a left. You go up the hill for about 1.5 miles, and then what you will see the marker. See the marker? And that's what you'll see on Oakgate Hill Road. And you'll see like how it's decorated. You'll know where her body was put. There's flowers there now. And here's, here's, Joan, little brownie picture. And if you notice, she even had a little bracelet on, She had the whole thing on. And so then what happened was, in '93, remember, I forgot to tell you, since she was found on Easter and she died on Holy Thursday, I saw that as a sign of hope. So throughout the next 20 years, I was always looking for the sign of hope. And it was going to be a sign of hope that was going to be big. And I did have 2 more children then. I had, here's John, and I have Michael. Where's Michael? John?
He's out there somewhere.
Michael's there. That's Michael. And first I had a miscarriage, then I had Michael, and then I had John. And I get a call 6 years sooner than I thought, and Joan's killer was eligible for parole. And this time it was going to be very tough to keep him in. Because in '73, he got life, which meant 14 years at that time meant life. So he had been in prison for 14 years. So we had to fight. We had to fight. And a movement started. It just started because of the people, the unity of the people. And what we did, we had green ribbon campaigns because Joan loved the color green. Her second color was orange. So we had a green ribbon campaign. And what we did was also have a petition drive, and we had a vigil of about maybe 1,500 people. And we got all this to the parole board. The parole board listened to the people, everybody, they do, especially when you gather in group, like in unity, you're showing that you want like something, like good for society. So here it is, Joan, who was this little girl, a leader in dance class, social butterfly in the 2nd grade, loved to read, kind, would help the child that was on the playground that was like really shy, and would say, come play. And she was the one that said, and somebody told me this about 15 years ago, when she was playing with the kids might be fighting, and she would say to them, you know what? Let's go play, let's go do something. And she didn't want, come on, let's stop, So that's the way she was social justice, even though she didn't realize that. So now, all this social justice is going on. We are fighting to keep the killer in prison. He does not win. He stays in prison. And this happens a few times, because he's not only eligible at the time in the 1990s, he's also eligible 2008, other times also. So now, what we do is we go into change, because I said we needed to have change. Because of change, with all the people working together, we got 5 laws. One law is Jones Law in New Jersey, and I'll tell you what Jones Law is. On the federal level, every place on the federal property in the United States. Then we got the Justice Victims Law, and that one everybody should know. There's no more statute of limitations to sue the killer. Before, at the time when it happened to Joan, there was only 2 years. So by the time I got to do that, he had spent all his money on appeals, because he did have an inheritance. So what happened was, the Jones Law says no parole ever for people that assault children under 14 and murder them. Then, that was the first law. That was in 97. Now the one we got in 2017, that one expanded the law to under 18 because there are a lot, it would help the children that were even victims of human trafficking. Now, what we're doing here in New York State is working on the 6th law. It's the expansion of Jones Law in New York State, and it is called Paula's Law. Paula was a teenager who was assaulted and murdered here at Pearl River. We just had the press conference Monday, and it was on the reintroduction of the law, and it looks the people working on it, the senator and the assemblyman, and that's Assemblyman Lawler, and that is Senator, it's Reichlin Melnick. I mean, you know, very, very dedicated to it. So now we go into the change. So here we are. Joan's legacy is like just blooming and blooming and blooming. And in fact, there's a documentary in the works now, which will be going into film festivals in the fall. And it is about the story. They're doing a story on Joan and myself, because I'm her voice. I'm a voice, and everybody else. I say everybody else's voice. It's not just my voice. So now John was going to say something.
She was saying to hold up for some reason. Hi, everyone. Oh, yeah, right. I just wanted to let everyone know about the Jones Joy Foundation that was formed in '98 by my mother, and we have the Fun Adventures and Education program. Now, this program was set up to my mother thought who were the most vulnerable and already victimized members of society were children who were affected by or were disadvantaged and were dealing with abuse or some kind of neglect. So we've worked with shelters, used to be the Father English Center, YCS in Hackensack, and we've provided fun educational experiences for them, such as trips to Great Adventure, Washington, D.C., and that we've even recently given to the Safety and Change to give them gift cards to buy coats for the children. And so in this way, Joan's legacy has grown, and we even help to provide support services to victims, such as my mother will provide counseling in some way or give them the advice how to get laws through, get change. And a lot of the volunteers that come forward, sometimes share their stories with my mother, and that's how the Jones Joy continues to do these changes in society.
Thank you. Since we started, we have, with our fundraisers, we have like yard sales, we have Child Safety Fest. With all that, and then people donate too. We have donated maybe about $100,000, $100,000 $100,000 just from grassroots, all grassroots. Now, to help like the organizations. Then, in fact, we gave a lot of tablets. We donated a lot of tablets to the kids during this time of COVID. A lot. Like, thousands of dollars. And so what I want to say is that there's one thing that I never told you about, the story about the white butterfly.
That's the big comment that I'm going to come back to.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So Joan's story is the reason why Center for Safety and Change is here, for all victims and survivors. We want to thank Joan for being brave and using this space to tell the story of Joan. We appreciate it so much. There are other stories that we know that are there that are not out. So we thank Joan so much for coming out to tell the story. Right now, we are going to have Pastor Carl Washington to come and bless us with his words. Pastor Washington is the pastor of Pilgrim Baptist Church, which is right here in Nyack. So as Pastor Washington is coming up, let's give him a round of applause for coming up here.
Thank you. I am just a tad taller than those who have already been here, so give me a second while I adjust. I'm sorry. And I hope I wasn't trying to be offensive. I just, want to make sure that, you all could hear me. Good afternoon, Nyack. Good afternoon. We are truly grateful for the opportunity to stand here before you and to share in this moment as we are celebrating the work that the Center for Safety and Change has done, is doing, and will continue to do. The words that I have for you this afternoon aren't much. They aren't flowery, but they are something that, for me, and I hope for you, become something that you can carry with you. And I do want to say to Joan, Joan, I do stand in solidarity with you because I know the pain of having lost a child. And so I just want to make that clear that I understand what it means to have gone down that path. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, Rosemary. I'm sorry. I know that pain all too well, and although not in the same manner, I am intrinsically connected to it and familiar with it. And the one thing that has helped me in that moment has been, I'm reminded of a particular passage of scripture. And if you've been to a church, whether you're Catholic, whether you're Episcopalian, whether you're Methodist, whether you're Baptist, no matter what, you've probably heard this familiar passage quoted before. And it says this, it said, weeping may endure for a night. Most times in churches and places of worship, we want to move quickly to the latter half of that particular passage, which says joy comes in the morning. And that's great, but sometimes we need to remain in that period of weeping, because it's in weeping that we learn how to wrestle with the things that really challenge us. It's in the weeping that we learn how to deal with and navigate the pitfalls and the turmoils and tragedies of life. It's in the weeping that we learn some things so that when joy does come, we know how to respond with hope. We know how to respond with joy because we are now healed. We know how to respond with joy because we now feel the help has come for us that we've needed all the while we were weeping. And so even as we stand in this moment and we talk about the things that matter to us most, which are things like justice and things like peace and things like hope and things like healing, as we stand in these moments, we want to make sure that we all fully understand that we're going to have a period of weeping, but when the joy comes, we ought to also know how to handle it. We ought to also know how we have to deal with it. We ought to also know how we must move forward as a people in order to ensure solidarity for humanity. And so, people of Nyack, I leave you with this. Wherever we desire change, we are always going to face challenge. But we cannot, we shall not, we will not stand by and allow ourselves to be pushed idly into the night. But we will continue to progress, continue to pursue, continue to push forward in all that we do, because ultimately we stand for each other. And when we stand for each other, we stand with each other. And when we stand with each other, we stand to make sure that everyone has the same accesses, the same equity, the same rights, the same priorities as we move forward and progress as a people. And so my question I leave you with is, will you continue the fight?
That's right.
Hi, good evening. Hello? Oh. Hi, good evening, everybody. Buenas tardes. Me gustaría introducir a Charo Ureña de Proyecto Faro. This is Charo Ureña from Project Faro. I will also be translating for her.
Buenas noches a todos.
Good evening, everybody.
Gracias por estar aquí, por ser parte de este movimiento.
Thank you for being here tonight and for being part of this movement.
Y gracias también al centro por estar siempre lleno a la vanguardia de nuestra comunidad.
Thank you to the center for being an avant-garde to this movement.
Yo trabajo en la organización Proyecto Faro.
I work for Proyecto Faro.
Y nosotros trabajamos en diferentes áreas en orden de ayudar a nuestra comunidad inmigrantes.
We work in different areas helping our community.
Y estoy aquí hoy para hablar un poquito sobre lo que estamos haciendo aquí hoy, ¿verdad? Apoyar todas estas víctimas de tráfico, de violación, todas estas víctimas que son débiles y que necesitan una voz que puedan hablar por ellos.
No, it's okay. We're here today to support the victims and survivors of sexual violence, sexual abuse.
Muchas veces nosotros escuchamos, vemos noticias y pensamos que son cosas que suceden, pero no suceden cerca de nosotros.
A lot of times we watch the news and think that it's not something that touches us or it's close to us.
Pero yo puedo decirle que sí sucede y sucede cerca. Puede ser un vecino, puede ser un familiar. Sucede más cerca de lo que muchas veces imaginamos.
I can say that it is close. It's a neighbor. It could be happening very close to us.
En este momento nosotros, Proyecto Faro, estamos trabajando muy de cerca con situaciones como esta, donde han habido menor involucrado, donde ha habido tráfico bien fuerte, bien impactante, y sucede aquí.
Proyecto Faro is working very closely to the community in terms of traffic and minors, with minors being trafficked.
Y una de las cosas que hemos podido ver es que debido a la inmigración, ¿verdad?, de personas aquí, de gente que son indocumentadas.
One of the things that we've seen within the immigrant or undocumented community,
que debido a su estatus, muchas veces tienen miedo de hablar.
Due to their status, they're scared to come out and speak.
Mujeres que son víctimas de sus propias parejas.
Women who are victims of their partners.
Hijos que son víctimas de sus padres.
Children who are victims by their parents.
y otros que son testigos de lo que está ocurriendo, pero tienen miedo de hablar por su estatus.
And others are witness to these crimes and they're scared to speak.
Y yo estoy aquí en conjunto con todos los que están trabajando en este evento para decirte que si miras algo, tienes que hablar.
I'm here today with everyone that's standing here to say if you see something, say something.
Si tú no quieres hablar porque tú tienes miedo, entonces busca a alguien que pueda hablar por ti.
If you are too scared to talk, find someone to speak for you.
No tengas miedo, tu estatus no va a repercutir en la información que puedes dar y puede salvar una vida.
Don't be scared due to your status. It can help save a life.
Ahora mismo con la situación de COVID hay muchos jóvenes que están en su casa que no están yendo a las escuelas.
Now with COVID, there's a lot of children not going to school in our home.
Y muchos de ellos están en peligro porque la escuela, no pueden ir a la escuela y decir, no pueden salir, no pueden hablar con nadie y están en peligro en sus propias casas.
Many of them are in danger because they can't go to school and they can't tell someone what's happening.
So, si mira a tu alrededor, lo que quiero decirte es que mire a tu alrededor, no te hagas ajeno a la situación. Tú puedes, tú y yo, nosotros podemos marcar la diferencia y salvar vidas.
Look around and see the people around you. I'm sorry.
Nosotros podemos salvar una vida.
And that together we can save a life.
Podemos cambiar, hacer la diferencia en la vida de una persona que está siendo abusada.
We can make a difference in a person's life who's being abused.
O de una persona que está siendo tratada para venderla, para abusarla sexualmente.
A person being trafficked for sexual trafficking.
Es un deber de nosotros como seres humanos.
It is our duty as human beings
dar la cara por el otro.
To confront or give faith for one another.
Si tú necesitas una voz, nosotros estamos aquí para ser tu voz.
If you need a voice, we are here to be your voice.
Si tú necesitas a alguien que vaya contigo, que te acompañe, a la policía, lo que sea, nosotros estamos aquí para ti.
If you need someone to go with you to the police, we are here to help you and go with you.
No estás solo, estamos aquí para ti.
You are not alone, we are here for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias.
Well, you want me to finish? Because I didn't finish up.
Just give us a couple minutes.
Okay.
The next two folks who are coming up are also special members of the Center for Safety and Change family, specifically the Department of Child and Youth Services, Leslie Rodriguez and Lindsay Amachani.
Hello everyone, my name is Leslie Rodriguez and I'm the Director of Children and Youth Program at the Center for Safety and Change. Tonight I'm presenting an artwork from a child that I was working with. They are a victim of crime. And this shows that they were once at a dark space and now they just want to fight, they want to protest, they want to end abuse towards children.
Hi everyone, I'm Lindsay Amachani. I'm a child and youth therapist at the Center for Safety and Change, and I as well am working with a child at the center who is a victim of a crime, and she loves to draw as her outlet, and her beautiful message is a drawing of an angel praying down on her and hoping that this angel will protect her in her future and from everything that she's been through. Thank you.
Okay, hello everybody again. I'm looking for Sasha. Oh, there she goes. Sasha's going to read a poem. Sasha va a leer un poema.
Hi, everybody.
I need to translate.
For the poem?
No, I'll do the translation.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Zasha. I am a local poet, an advocate, and a volunteer, also with Proyecto Faro. I'm going to read a very brief poem tonight. I'm sorry that I did not have a translation, but I'll be happy to provide one later if anybody's interested. Sometimes covered in leaves, sometimes in bare branches, her throat coated in molasses, petals at her fingertips, her tenderness rooted in pain. Here she is story, that sun after rain, a season to embrace, breath onto new dawn, steps into glory. The wind dances through her body, making songs with the breeze, giving flight to wings and life to tomorrow. I'm also a volunteer with Proyecto Faro, as I said.
I'm also a volunteer with Proyecto Faro.
And I am working with a special project at this time.
Estoy trabajando en un proyecto especial a este tiempo.
With the past year, the organization has dealt with seeing a lot of food insecurity.
Este último año he estado trabajando con la organización en el tema de hambre en la comunidad.
And as part of addressing this dire need in our own communities, we have been working on establishing a community refrigerator.
Parte de este trabajo para, how do you say address? Dirigirnos al problema, estamos trabajando en un proyecto de un refrigerador comunitario.
The launch of the community fridge will be May 1st in Spring Valley.
El lanzamiento del primer refrigerador comunitario va a ser el 1 de mayo.
And yes, we've been working on this for several months. It's taken a group of very dedicated volunteers.
Hemos estado trabajando en este proyecto hace meses con un grupo de voluntarios muy dedicados.
We're also very grateful, I have to say, for the Center for Safety and Change as well for their assistance in this project and their partnership.
Estamos muy agradecidos con el Center for Safety and Change por su aporte y su aporte.
So as I said, the launch will be May 1st. We will be live streaming through our social media channels. We are on Facebook at Rockland Community Fridge Project. We are on Instagram at Rockland Community Fridge. Please feel free to reach out. This is eventually the goal of this. I'm sorry, should I stop? Yes, okay.
El lanzamiento de nuevo ser el 1 de mayo. Ustedes nos pueden encontrar en Rockland Community Fridge en Instagram y en Facebook.
And the goal of this is for it to be a community-led initiative.
La meta de este proyecto es que este refrigerador sea liderado por la comunidad.
So that means, you're driving on your way to work, you could drop something off, people can take what they need, leave what they don't.
Esto significa que la gente puede pasar por allí, dejar algo o coger lo que ellos necesitan y dejar lo que pueden.
And eventually we will be using our social media channels to call for assistance with stocking food and things like that. So, like I said, please follow us and reach out with any questions or interest to help out.
Nosotros vamos a usar las plataformas de nuestras redes de plataforma para comunicar esta información, buscar voluntarios y también llenar el inventario del refrigerador. Y por favor síganos.
Yes, thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you for our safety support here. Thank you so far for all of the speakers who have come to talk about so many different things, from stories to art to things that are happening in our community now, terrible things to wonderful things like community fridge projects that bring us life, right? So we're gonna introduce our father and son team that is coming up here, Glenn and Trey, who are local Nyakians, to help warm us up and also just remind us of our life, right? Our blood and our power when we come together, our heartbeat that the drum represents. And yeah, so hopefully you'll feel that with us.
Thank you. Sure. Well, thank you, everyone. It's an honor to be here with everybody tonight. I live down the block. I'm a local Nyack boy, and this is my son Trey. And Nikki called us last night and said, "Would you please come down and play a little groove for us?" And I'm really this means a lot to be here with all of you. So this is the djembe drum. This is the drum of love. This is the drum of peace. This is the drum to bring the community together. So I'm going to play a quick moment for all of you, and you can close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open. And Nikki, thank you. It's an honor to be here, and we play for everybody that can't be here with us. And this is called Move On Up. This is for everyone trying to move on up.
Child, and don't you cry. Your folks might not understand it by and by. You move on up towards your destination, into the steeple of beautiful people where there's only one kind. You move on up, move on up now. And move on up. Move on up now. Move on up, move on up. Move on up, move on up, yeah. Move on up, move on up. Move on up, move on up, yeah. Bite your lip and take a trip. There may be a wet road ahead, you can't slip. So you move on up towards your destination. You may find from time to time a little complication. You move on up. You move on up now. Move on up. You move on up now. And the background singer they sing, move on up, move on up. Move on up, yeah. Move on up, move on up. Move on up, yeah. Move on up. Thank you all so much. We love Nyack.
Well, that was... I wish that, you know, the whole world could hear what everybody did tonight, what everybody said. But you know what? It's like the whole world is here because all the people that represented and came to this mic and came here tonight and come here tonight to talk, right? Or just to come here to support. You know, you represent the whole world. You represent the people. So we are the whole world, the positive world, the world trying to do good. So now I want to just tell you about the white butterfly. The white butterfly, you'll see, there are white butterflies here on the table, and there are little cards that you can take, and the little cards have Joan's little picture, and it has like where I live, and you can get in touch with me. That's like the Joan Angela De La Sandro Foundation, also known as Joan's Joy. So anyway, this white butterfly happened at the site here in West Haverstraw. And I hadn't gone there for 8 years because I have a rare disease since my teenage years. I have myasthenia gravis. So I couldn't go for 8 years, I wasn't strong enough. So then I went, and it was on April 22nd. And that was like in 2006. Because I hadn't gone, the first time I went there was in 98. And guess what? I'm coming up the mountain after going and putting flowers there for Joan, coming up the mountain, going behind the boulder, and guess what? I see something white, and it wasn't like today, not today's 22nd with this cold air. It was very cloudy and very misty, and it was just a yucky day. And I said, it can't be a moth because it was white. But I said, what do I know? You know, I don't know anything else. Like, I know a moth, but they usually are at night. Well, I found out it was a white butterfly. We have white butterflies called cabbage whites, and the cabbage white became the symbol of the hope that I was telling you about. So from this horror, this is what happened, and there it was. I took it as a sign of her energy, and she was thankful that I could be her voice and really, you know, work for, you know, making Joan's life mean something and save other lives. Because Joan didn't want others to go through what she went through, and I didn't either. So then anyway, we had the white butterfly. So what we did, with the people donated, we built this big, beautiful sculpture and garden. It's big. It's not really big, but it's just beautiful, and it's big enough though. You know, it's big enough because you'll see if you go there. And what you see is, you see this. It's right like in the front of the Hillsdale train station, so that it's easy to understand where it is if you look on the GPS and stuff. So there you have this garden, everyone, and the sculpture, and it's for child safety awareness, which will go on forever. And on the sculpture, you'll see it talks about Joan, it talks about what the people did, what we did with the laws, and what we continue to do. But you know what? We were able to do it because our foundation is not a big foundation. You know, we do grassroots. But guess what? People donated about $65,000, like people had businesses and all. And it continues today. And right now, if you go there, the tulips are just starting to wean a little bit, and the daffodils and the hyacinth. And then there's like a bench you could go to and sit. And then you could just like, you know, have an ice cream cone. You could talk to your child. You could just meditate about whatever your faith is. And that's what I wanted to share with you. So here you go, take the things that you like over there, and remember, that, like all of you are special. All of you are very special. And all of you can do so much. And all of us together, together, then it's even that much more, right? So just, like Joan would say, God bless everybody. And just, I could feel love here tonight. Just, with the people that are here, all the workers, what you do, with your organization. And, the love is just around, okay? So, good night. Good night, everybody. Goodbye. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosemarie, and sharing a very difficult story to all of us, but sometimes it's through difficulty that gives strength to other people. And so it's really important, the next person that I call up here, because they actually sent in their entry and weren't ready to share, and they actually showed up tonight and have decided that they do want to use their voice. And so I'm going to ask folks, if you feel okay, to circle around, maybe put an arm out, open your heart, do the Care Bear stare towards Chris, and give her the strength as she models for us what it means to be brave and a survivor in community, right? And we really thank her for her words as she shares her poem called Some Advice on the After. So right after Rosemarie, we ask Chris to come up to help us with some words of bravery.
Okay. Some advice on the after. I've been told to engage the pain, to hold it in my body and not deny it. But there's a danger in engaging the pain, breathing it in as if it isn't the toxic mess that it is. Just because you're used to it doesn't mean you graciously come to tolerate it. It stinks. It stinks still. I've befriended pain. My inner self, my child self, my bad self, all the selves. But you alone can only be so many friends. When you can, don't engage alone. When you can, paint pictures in the air, no matter how grainy. You don't have to be an artist to portray your own grief. Let those who love you stand beside you and bear witness to the moment. See the perpetrators of harm. Let those who love you squint and mock and poke holes in those portraits, like sand paintings that have embarrassingly realized they have no power over gravity. When you can, tell dreams or nightmares to those who are strong enough to let the words slide into their ears, enrage their brain, and let them spit the words out so you can see those terrors spilled in front of you, defanged, neutered, and boneless. Let those who love you lend you their voices when your throat is tied. Let them curse those nightmares into shamed and small nothingness. And when your body is on fire, that no sweat will break, that gets hotter no matter how still you are or how fast you run, tell those who you suspect may have the coolest touch, but who will wait for you on the other side of the walls you have electrified. They will hold you, even in their waiting. Be held.
So I just wanted to gift Chris, from Chris, who set up the flowers, the bleeding heart, and just being reminded as I stood behind her that the bleeding heart stands for compassion and openness to expressing ourselves. So with the open wound that she shared with us, the process of healing happens, and that's the work that many of us here do. And I never would have met Chris to come to this moment if it wasn't in one of the programs of the Center for Safety and Change, that she heard that we were doing this Speak Out, and she wasn't ready about a week ago, and in that time frame became ready to share her story. So the work is working, and we're doing it in community. So thank you so much. And gonna call up Alexis as we continue to share more brave stories.
Hi everyone, it's Alexis again. So I'm going to be reading a story from Cynthia Williams. She's a member of the Rockland Coalition to End the New Jim Crow. And she's also done a lot of work in the community to end solitary confinement in prisons. Thank you. So she gave us the story of Lady Catherine, who I believe is tuning into our Facebook Live. So we do want to thank her for allowing us to share her story today. Lady Catherine was constantly abused by her husband, and even though she made several reports, the system did not protect her. One day she did find the courage to defend herself, and even though she did not mean to kill him, he did die. Because of this, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison, and once re-entering the system, she was re-victimized. And this is a trend we see with a lot of victims and survivors, where they re-enter the system and they become re-victimized. So we have to fight for the victims of sexual assault so that judges can consider the effect that these things have on sentencing and the victim and survivor themselves. So Cynthia Williams did want us to share that, and we do thank Lady Catherine for allowing us to share her story today.
All right. Hello, everyone. So one of our SETA students has asked me to read this poem in honor of a few different individuals and families. So the first is in honor of Mohammad Anwar, who was a Pakistani immigrant and Uber Eats driver who was killed in Washington, D.C., in honor of the Tawid family in Texas, and in honor of the victims of the Indianapolis shooting in a FedEx, which also included 4 Sikh immigrants. So I'm going to read this poem by Fatima Asghar, which is called If They Should Come For Us. These are my people, and I find them on the street in shadow, through any wild, all wild. My people, a dance of strangers in my blood, the old woman sari dissolving to wind, bindi a new moon on her forehead. I claim her my kin, and so, the star of her to my breast, the toddler dangling from stroller hair, a fountain of dandelion seed at the bakery, I claim them too. The sick uncle at the airport who apologizes for the pat down, the Muslim man who abandons his car at the traffic light, drops to his knees at the call of the azan, and the Muslim man who sips good whiskey at the start of Maghrib. The lone kala at the park, pairing her kurta with Crocs. My people, I can't be lost. When I see you, my compass is brown and gold and blood. My compass is a Muslim teenager, snapback and high tops, gracing the subway platform. God, I claim them all. My country is made in my people's image. If they come for you, they come for me too. In the dead of winter, a flock of aunties step out onto the sand, their dupattas turn to ocean, a colony of uncles grind their palms, and 1,000 jasmines bell the air. My people, I follow you like constellations. We hear the glass smashing the street and the nights opening their dark. Our names, this country's wood for the fire. My people, the long years we've survived, the years yet to come. I see you, map my sky, the light, your lantern long ahead, and I follow. Thank you.
I'm a little taller. Not really, though. I'm short, too. Is it cold enough for y'all? I mean, I know it's freezing. It's like winter again. But you are out here for a reason. We are out here for greatness. So I just want to play you something. There is another poem that I want to play you from Kenyatta Arietta Jones. So hopefully I can play it on my phone and it's loud enough. I can do it.
You want to plug it in?
Oh, I can plug it in. Hold on, I'll be back.
Did y'all hear that?
No longer asleep. I am awake. I am woken. I am woke. I see, I feel, I hear, I smell, I taste. But I don't understand. I don't understand how I went to sleep with hope and woke up with such despair. How can they say